What's up? This is Martin from Basketball Society. I am so glad that you're here right now. You are in for a treat. Before we get started, I need you to go down and click subscribe, join the Basketball Society, stick around and watch what's going on around here. We got a lot of great basketball content for you. This is brought to you by the Holistic Hooper, our mindfulness training platform where we use fascial stretch therapy, mindfulness and meditation, and other tools and resources to help hoopers enlighten their game. This is a holistic talk with a very special guest. I was so excited to talk to this woman, Laura Mitchell Wilde. She's the author of The Cosmic Athlete. I just finished this book. I'll drop some information below about the Holistic Hooper, about Laura and her website and the work that she's doing. If you hear stuff that you like, that you're interested in, that fascinates you, go ahead and give this video a like. Let us know what you think about it in the comments. So here's my conversation with Laura Mitchell Wilde, the author of The Cosmic Athlete, holistic mental performance coach with the NBA, a woman that many call the greatness whisperer. I call her the quantum queen. Get ready to tap in and enjoy the conversation. I want to start with what you described as your aha moment as a basketball player. And I really appreciated this because it was a really vivid basketball example of you as a player and that experience and how you threw a pass just behind your head in a game, and your teammate and your friend caught it and ended up scoring, and you called that as your first time getting into the cosmic zone accidentally. So from there, was it really just like a determination to figure that out from that point?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time it all really came together. And like the moment you're speaking of is when I was at half court, because basketball players got to hear this part, right? I was at half court and I had stolen the ball. And I didn't, I was facing away from my basket. And for some reason, I had this weird urge, and it would have been really bad if she hadn't been there. But I just whipped the ball with two hands, like a two-handed behind the back pass, all the way from half court to the layup lane. And the girl did a perfect layup. So in that moment, I was like, wait, I knew she was there, but I didn't know. So how did I know that? So I suddenly realized that the zone includes intuition. And intuition is a superpower. Like, guys, learn how to tap into your intuition. Some people will say, oh, I'm not intuitive, but so-and-so is. And that's wrong because everyone's intuitive. Like, you're intuitive. Do you realize that?
Absolutely. I've only started to realize it as of late, but for sure.
Yeah, we all are, for sure.
And I love how you describe what you do. I mean, quantum player development sounds like so big, right? And so massive, but I love how you emphasize that it's not an external location. You're not going somewhere else. What you're doing is accessing what's already inside you, and you're helping people to kind of figure out how to find that. But that takes a lot of work to find that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like to use the hashtag no bad games. And I was someone invited me to a 13-year-old's AAU practice the other day. And I went to the practice, and then they introduced me, and all these 13-year-old boys came running over. What is the zone? You just said the zone. What's that? What do you mean no bad games? How is that possible? I said, guys, if you really work to cultivate this muscle within you, then you can actually go to a place where you have no bad games. And I wouldn't say that doesn't mean you never, ever have a moment. But in that moment, you'll be like, well, that's because I didn't get centered or grounded properly because something else distracted me. But it really is possible to go to a place where you don't have bad games, where your bad game is someone else's best game. So it was so this is where working in the NBA has been really fun, and it's still really fun to work with athletes and even NBA coaches that I work with. But I have to say, 13-year-old, 14-year-old kids, and even regular high school players, there's something really magical about them because they're so open-minded. They're so willing to learn. And it's interesting, right, when I was a college coach and I hadn't been with the NBA before, those guys were like, yeah, cool. But now they want to talk to me because they know that I've been around the greatest, and they realize my perspective is something that can help them. So that group of kids I love because they want to know about the zone, how to get there too. Probably more than the pro guys, to be honest.
So do me a favor and go ahead and describe what it means to be a cosmic athlete.
Yeah, so what it means to be a cosmic athlete. To me, one of the most important things is I talk about these 4 stages of sports consciousness. And stage 1 is like a victim, oh, the refs hate me. My coach never gives me a chance. Okay, great. That's a victim athlete. And then we go to the next stage, which is like an athlete who manifests, where they go, look at that. I manifested a great game, or I manifested a new contract or a better coach. Then the third stage is where we are allowing great basketball to flow through, or great, whatever sport it is, right? But the greatness of the game flows through us. And then the fourth stage, right? The cosmic and the conscious athlete are stages 3 and 4. And I actually borrowed that from Michael Beckwith, who is a meditation teacher, a spiritual teacher. So the next stages are where you're not just allowing the game to flow through you, but you truly become the game, where it's hard to even know that you're in the game because you are the game. And we know athletes get to that space where they're unconscious. They literally, their mind disappears because you want to let your mind disappear because you want to be so good at your sport. That's why you got to practice a lot and be really skilled, right? Because if you're super skilled, you can actually go to the zone more easily. Because if you're not really skilled, you're thinking it the whole time. So it's really hard for kids at 12 and 13. They don't really get to the zone that often, unless they're in another sport where they become great by age 13. Basketball players in general don't peak until much later, right? So when you're in the zone, you forget the mechanics, kind of like when you drive. If you drive home every day the same way, sometimes you'll get home and be like, well, damn, I didn't crash. Or how did I not miss all my free throws? I wasn't even paying attention. But that's actually when you're in your best state, where you forgot your personality. Because the only thing that really, keeps us from being great is ourselves. My personality is the only thing that can keep me from being a multimillionaire, or my belief systems, which make up my personality. So when I can forget who I am, I can be anyone. And if I can forget that I am me, who's 5'9", who is an 82% free throw shooter, if I could forget that for a minute, I could be a 100% free throw shooter. So it's the idea that you want to connect to the collective unconscious. And when the game plays as you instead of through you, you're connected to the collective unconsciousness. And that's where you're connected to the blueprint or the energy of everyone. Walt Chamberlain, Babe Ruth, Kobe Bryant, LeBron, Michael Jordan, Dee Brown, everyone is connected to you at that. I had to throw in Dee Brown. He was my boss of the Clippers, and he is the guy who gave me a chance. We all have an NBA angel. Once you make it, you go, oh yeah, my NBA angel was so-and-so. And that's true even if you're a player, because even the players have a hard time getting back into the league as an administrator, or a coach. So back to the cosmic athlete. A cosmic athlete is one who forgets that he or she is human and becomes an essence or a presence, as opposed to a person in a body with bones. Because there's this whole thing about called quantum biology, where your body's not a bag of bones, it's an energy field. And it's like, take a puppet, right? So if you have a puppet and you put your hand in it and you make it, talk, it's alive, it's got a connection. But you drop the hand and hold the puppet and it's dead. And our bodies are kind of like that, right? Our bodies are filled up with our personality, with our energy, with our beliefs. And if you've ever, been in pain or had an injury, you might notice that when you first wake up in the morning, that you don't feel the pain. You might have 20 seconds before it kicks in. And you can know that what that means is that your mind brings the pain with it when it finds its way back into your body in a waking state. When you go back to the beta state where you're awake, as opposed to the alpha state, which is where you are as you drift into sleep and as you drift back into wakefulness. And the alpha state is the zone. So when you're in the zone, people don't feel pain the same way because we're not connected to our body in this locked in, rigid sort of way. It's not dense.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love how, like, in your 4 levels of mastery, the first level is mechanics. So it's like before you can even get to mindful or any of those, next level, you really have to spend a lot of time, right? Just with mechanics. And I love how you put it, like, you either have it or you don't. And I work with a good amount of kids here in New Jersey, and you know how it is. A lot of parents sometimes want it more than the kid. Sometimes parents think the kid is better than they actually are. It's always, so connecting with that kid and really meeting them where they're at and saying, listen, we can really improve, but you have to wash away everything, all the thought, everything. Let's just start with what you have, what you know, and build from there. Because every kid has potential. It doesn't matter what level they're at. It's like, listen, you can improve. All you have to do is want to, right? You make that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Every child has a divine spark and a great talent within them. Every human being has that. Some of us find it, and some of us, spend our lives trying to do other people's divine spark, other people's dreams. And my son's a great example of that. Like, dude, my son would have been an NBA all-star point guard. Like it was just it would have happened, right? There wasn't even a question about that. He could have been that good, and he had the genes for it as well. So my son instead chose the path of ballet, and he's a professional ballet dancer in Russia, but he does him really well. And I stopped trying to force him into basketball at about age 7. He might say age 8, but it was at 7 I stopped. So he was running up and down the court because I put him in basketball. Like, dude, you're going to be 6'6". And I swear to gosh, he could have been 6'6", but he didn't want to be. I feel like he kept himself at 6'3".
He kept it from happening.
Doesn't work at all. So one day he was running down the court, and you basketball people will love this. I'm a basketball person too, by the way. So he's running down the court the whole game, like he was in a whole quarter because they switched the kids out. So for the whole quarter, he's running up and down. He would look over into the stands at me and my friend, and he would run like this. He was about 5, maybe 6. At the end of the game, I said, "Are you bothered that no one passed you the ball the whole game?" And he goes, "They didn't?" Oh, dude, you don't care. What? Because at that point, I was a college basketball coach. So I was like, how do you not care they didn't pass you the ball? Like, never going to be into basketball. No. Then I taught him to dunk like 3 years ago. So he's 6'3", learned how to dunk at age 23. And so we're out there, and then he had the nerve to say, because he was also shooting threes, like, how do I shoot? Because he had no form, because he didn't care, and he would get mad if I corrected him. So, like, you're the only dude who walks shooting like this, at age 13. So he's there on the court, dunking out on this outdoor court, and he goes, "I can't believe you didn't try to get me to play basketball, Mom." I was like, "No, you did not. I, gave up my dream for you because you had your own dream." I was like, "We're not talking about that." So anyway, basketball is a divine spark for me, so I let that be mine. I let my kid have his own thing. But we all have a genius and a brilliance in us. And you're right. As we're learning our skills, we can't forget. But the idea ultimately is to disappear from our body and just be like in this expansiveness when we play the game. And when you do that, you're going to know where your teammate is if you throw the ball behind your head. You're going to make the best passes. Like I've met Magic Johnson twice, but never, when I could just talk to him because I want to know about all these no-look passes he did.
Yeah.
That's some kind of special gift of intuition that he's got, right? To make those passes.
Yeah, seeing it ahead, right? Like, I mean, really feeling it and knowing. And I love how you describe, even in your experience, I mean, essentially you're also leading them with that path, with that energy. It's almost like they react without even knowing. It's like, wait, I didn't even know I was going to be there. Like,
yeah, exactly. I love the connections that start to form when more than one player on the team gets in the zone. And that's really the key, and something that I'd like to see is where there's a team where there's so much buy-in that everyone learns to get in the zone. Because if a few teams have athletes who are like this cosmic athlete, like I talked about in the book, then the teams, I would say their frequency raises, right? So when a team's not doing well, you have to take a look and say, don't any of them meditate? Like, don't they have a deeper connection to themselves? I mean, I hate to say it, but when a team's not doing well, there's a frequency problem. There's some kind of problem in management or coaching where someone's got low vibes. And I don't care, like whoever you are, that's your problem. Low vibes, y'all don't meditate, y'all don't have loving hearts, et cetera, et cetera. And great teams don't always have that. But you and I know that great teams have something, right? They have something special.
Right.
It takes a common connection, like a family atmosphere, a high frequency to win a world championship at any level, any sport.
Since we are basketball people, I want to ask, what is it about basketball to you in your experience that makes the cosmic zone so accessible? I know that it's universal across all sports for athletes and even beyond sports for just everyday people. That's what I love about your book too, is that I can apply these principles to work, to everything, honestly. But if we could, let's focus on basketball, since we're both basketball people. What is it about the game? Because you the no look pass, like you kind of got me going with that. But I mean, what are some more things that make you just feel like basketball is that special?
Yeah, the thing I love about basketball as opposed to other sports is 5 on the court at one time. And also in basketball, because it's indoors and your players are on the bench, like in football, like they're way down there, like the bench is way down there and here's the action. And in basketball, when you get in front of your bench and there's that moment when something happened, the bench gets up and they, chest bump or they high five. So to me, I love the way that the players on the court and the players off the court maintain one unit when you have a good coach. Because I used to micromanage the bench when I was a coach. I had rules like when a player comes out of the game, we all stand up and shake hands. If someone makes a mistake, you have to you literally say hustle back or something. So I was very strict with my bench because I understood what it meant to have a strong bench behind any team. So I think the basketball bench has the best possibility of changing the game, maybe more than any sport, because there's no glass like there is in hockey. You know, no one's got face masks on. You can really connect. And isn't it fun when you're about to shoot a free throw or you're rebounding, how when you're on the lane lining up? I mean, I would always look at my teammates or my coach. I would try to line up so I could see the team, my friends on the bench, so I could watch them. And they'd be like, yeah. So I love that connection, that people on the floor and people on the bench are really important. We're all part of the action. But to me, I played post player when I was in high school because I was 5'9", and I was at the era where suddenly point guards were 5'9" and post players were 6'3". Like there was literally a shift in human consciousness and girls got really tall. So I was really tall all through high school and even in college. I was like a second tallest player on many of my teams. I mean, I didn't play D1. I played D1 junior college, but then I played Division II and Division III. And I noticed that girls all of a sudden were tall, you know, and then I was a coach and I was recruiting really tall. Like where were these 6'3" people when I was in high school or college? None of them. So I love I don't know. So the game was a place I felt like I never had limits in basketball. I couldn't dunk, but other than that, I could do anything, you know, and it was just, you know, I really miss basketball. I miss coaching. I won't let myself coach again. I'm not allowed to. I'm only allowed to be a mental performance coach, not an X's and O's coach. And that's what I don't love.
So getting into the zone is really, it's such a thing. Like you said, kids hear about the zone. Everyone hears about the zone and stuff. So isn't it a little intimidating to hear about like going beyond that? Like there's a place beyond that. Like you can tap in even more than just, because I'll be honest, when I showed one of the kids I coach who started to really get into this stuff, when I showed him this and when he read the cover and said Beyond Mindfulness, he literally just lost it. He said, yo, like, bro, what's after that? What's next? What more is there? I'm like, listen, man, just take a deep breath, finish he's reading George Mumford's book right now.
Okay,
So
yeah.
he's getting really into it. Yeah. But his reaction really, like, it kind of like messed me up because he was like, geez, man, like that's crazy. I'm like, yeah, like this is next level stuff.
Yeah, there's an embodiment that can happen at the next level. So I actually read the book by George Mumford, and I spent since 2001, since I was, 1 year old, no, since older than that, but I'm not that young. But when I was in 2001-ish, I started meditating, and I went on a very deep spiritual journey in my life and really came to recognize all the possibilities of us if we connect through spirit. And the book Mindfulness was a big stepping stone for me to read and understand. And I was like, well, we can go beyond that to where the athletes embody something different, where we kind of allow ourselves to surrender to this greater power. And mindfulness isn't really about that. It's really about being present in the moment and not worrying about tomorrow or yesterday. But, beyond mindfulness is more like really rising to a whole nother level beyond even being myself, right? So mindfulness is being present of who I am in this moment versus I disappear. My mind isn't needed anymore because it just likes to chatter. But if I use the mindfulness practices, I can minimize chatter. And now I'm just almost in the space of using my imagination. And so I teach people how to become really intuitive, how to use their imagination to create a really great life and, a really great game. And, mindfulness might have you imagine, you might meditate or visualize about a good game. I have my athletes practice and visualize very vividly scoring 1 million points in a game because break your brain. Like you need your brain to break so you can be different than you were yesterday. If your brain doesn't break once a day from some aha moment, then you're going to be the same person every day. You wake up, download yourself. There you are. I'm the same person. But if you visualize yourself like scoring 1 million points in the game, then you can't be the same person yesterday. Now you've broken the barrier of human limitations. And now you have this whole other version of yourself where you're like, I scored 1 million points in the game. And now 45 points could seem really easy because you've experienced that pouring into the basket. Like it's hard to score 1 million points. It'll tire your brain out. And you may not actually count, but it's the idea, the energy of 1 million points being poured into the basket from your arms alone is really incredible to kind of imagine. So then I call those superhuman mental reps. So if you do superhuman mental reps, then after you set the intention of 1,000,000 points, you do superhuman mental reps. You imagine dunking from half court. You imagine, I like to, when I do superhuman mental reps, I will jump up in my mind, get a rebound, kick it to the corner to LeBron, because of my superhuman mental reps, I play with LeBron. He shoots again and misses. I grab the rebound and I dunk it in. So that's me elevated for 2 different shots in a row in my mind, a superhuman mental rep. And that's one of the ways we can actually start to break some of these barriers of our human bodies, the limitations we have placed. Because some things, seem impossible, but that's just because no one's done it before. So we have to remember that not everything that's not been done is impossible. Some of them just haven't been done by you, or you, or you, or you, or me. Like, right, people listening right now might do something impossible that actually is just the first time someone did it. And so I think we forget that our human bodies are capable of far more than we realize.
Can being a good person really make me a better basketball player? Because going back to your aha moment, I love how you mentioned that right before that game, like you literally stopped in between describing the whole play to say that right before this happened, I was focusing on being a better person. Yeah. And you just, in a few sentences, you just described how something was just happening where you were just trying to be better as a person. And you attributed that to your experience on the floor. So that's my question. I mean, does being a good person, can that really make me a better hooper?
No, I think it can, yes. But if you're kind of a bad person, does it mean you're bad? No, because Michael Jordan was an absolute jerk when I met him in '91, and he went on to win his first of many world champions. And he has a reputation. Even that movie kind of solidified that he had a reputation of not being a good person. He's changed a lot since then, but I'm always like, dude, he's an anomaly. Like, that guy got lucky. You know what he did? He had Phil Jackson in his life. If not for Phil Jackson, he would not have had that type of accomplishment. His skill set was brought about by Phil Jackson, and who brought in George Mumford, helping him cultivate himself as a person. So I really think that the idea of expansion is what makes you a great basketball player. If you're willing to be an expansive person, even if you're not a good person or a kind person, if you are willing to expand and listen to new things, you're willing to expand. And the other thing to think about is we all have this capability. Like, my capability is that I can go for 2 days with only 3 hours of sleep a night. I can read 1 book a day. I could maybe I could make 9 out of 10 free throws if I went right now. My capacity, that's my capability. My capacity is that I could read 2 books a day. I could be 10 for 10 in free throws. So we have to take a look at where we can expand, and expansion is part of going from our capability, a B student, to a capacity of an A student, right? So every person has a capacity to be an A student and to score 25 points a game and 15 rebounds. But a lot of us will stay in our capabilities, and we might even be mediocre and be okay with mediocrity if we don't start to expand and think about where we can be excellent and set a big, huge goal, a huge, big goal.
I feel like with basketball coaches and especially trainers like me, we always want to teach players how to play with their instincts, especially players that have really strong instincts. You talk a lot about intuition, and that makes me think of like those instincts. Can you talk some about that? Because I love how you distinguish between intuition and visualization. I mean, you talked some about visualization earlier and like imagining things, right? But you also distinguish between that and like the intuition. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, so visualization is really powerful, and it's one of the most powerful tools you can use to become a great athlete, because you want to visualize what is going to happen in the future, right? Like, I visualize myself scoring 1,000,000 points, or scoring 30 points in this big game and getting 28 rebounds, or whatever this big vision is. You visualize it, and you want to actually visualize it not just once or twice, but like so much that by the time it starts to happen, it's a memory. So you want it, because when you visualize, you're imprinting upon your subconscious mind. Because if I look over here and see something, or close my eyes and see something, my subconscious doesn't know the difference whether it's real or not. If I watch a TV show and I see murders, my subconscious mind saw murders. Didn't matter if they were real or not, it's all the same. So I want to imprint upon my subconscious mind these awesome things, these beautiful visions, so that it does become memory. So then it's not so daunting to be a great athlete, because I've done it before. I visualize this every day for 20 minutes, and I recommend that. 20 minutes of visualization plus your meditation and prayer. So it's actually work. People talk all the time about, and I'm going to be on Clubhouse on Friday talking about how, because I was like, one day I was very agitated. I was like, I'm tired of, talking about how we have to do mental performance, how it has to be more important when I know people that really don't give time to mental performance. So what good am I if I know all this about mental performance, but no one's actually doing it? So you got to spend, if you can, 20 minutes a day visualizing. And you may get impatient, but if you do it right, if you do it like to the zone, and let me help you with that at some point, it can be magical and imaginative and fun. And I look forward to that part of my day. And my imagination has gotten so much better because of that. So that's visualization. And then intuition that really is like sort of mindfulness, like being in the moment to experience where you might be called to go and what might be even dangerous. Like for me, there was a time I was driving along in the car, my friend was driving, and I heard this voice, and I'd gotten this intuitive because I've worked at it, right? I heard a voice that said, trouble up ahead. And it kind of shocked me. I was like, trouble up ahead? Well, who said that? Because I'm in a car with one other person. And I know he didn't say it because it was a woman's voice. And I said, trouble up ahead. And he's like, what? I was like, I don't know, trouble up ahead. Just keep your eyes open. So anyway, long story short, we drive, and there's this 18-wheeler, and I hear the voice, that thing. I was like, oh, I said, maybe you can get away from that big 18-wheeler. There's another lane over here. I don't mean to boss you around, but just switch lanes if you can. So my friend's like, oh, we're fine. I said, switch lanes. I was like, no, you need to switch lanes. And he did. And as we got up close to that 18-wheeler, right when we were about to pass the end of it, a lane over, it started to lose its way, and it swung over. And if we had been in that spot and not changed lanes, we would have been smacked against the wall. We were in a bigger car, an SUV, but still, that was when I was like, whoa, my intuition is always there. But when my mind's full of chatter, I can't hear it. That's why meditation is so important, because it will unlock your intuition. Clear away doubt, worry, distrust, all those qualities and characteristics that we gather along the way in our life. We need to pull those away. It's time to let our heart lead us. And when people say things like, oh yeah, I got burnt before, so I can't do this. No, this is what life is about. I don't care how many times you got stabbed in the back or in the front or in the head. It's your job to trust the next person you meet, because if you can trust yourself, you can trust your intuition, and you'll know who has something good for you and who doesn't. Like, you really can change the trajectory of your life by not letting your old experiences, distort your vision of the possibilities of your life.
Laura, who are some players that people might recognize that you've worked with, or that you can say, just in your experience, feel like practice some of the things that you would make for a cosmic athlete or a conscious athlete?
Yeah. Well, this is sort of, working in the NBA, it's kind of taboo to name your people, right? So you can't really name your people. But one thing, like when I study players from the past, the people I love, like right now, LeBron, he's known to meditate before every game. Landry Shaman, I see Landry Shaman. I've seen him on the bench, closing his eyes and meditating. And I would say any person that I've worked with in the course of a team uses some of these things. Like I said earlier, most people don't take it to the level where it's required to be great, because if you really use your meditation practices and your prayers and you get in alignment, it'll make you a great athlete. But Kobe, for me, is one of the greatest to do this, at least in modern times, right? There are plenty of athletes back in the day that I don't really know about them, but Michael Murphy he's like the godfather of the zone books. He wrote a book called In the Zone. It used to be called The Psychic Side of Sports, and they had to redo the title. No one bought that book, The Psychic Side of Sports. No one liked that. But now it's called In the Zone. And there's an organization, I think it's called like Sports Energy something, but I was a speaker on their panel once. And I started learning about all these other athletes who've been talking about the zone all these years. And Dave Megacy played football back in the day, and he now is one of the people who's part of this organization of bringing this to the forefront. And, Phil Jackson, he's the one that gave George Mumford the stage. And I actually recently was able to meet George Mumford in a room on Clubhouse. So now, and he even I'm such a fangirl, dude. He reposted I put him in a story because I was able to, in Clubhouse, if you guys know Clubhouse, we were on the stage and I was able to be like a row away from him. So I screenshotted it and posted it. And then George resent it or rescreenshot, whatever it's called. He posted that. So I was like, oh my God, George Mumford. Because my friend Seth Pepper knows him. So anyway, I just love the way that I've been able to connect. So like, okay, because I have in my mind that I'm going to meet Phil Jackson and he's going to be my mentor. And I'm just going to ask him point blank. So I read the paper the other day when I'm in LA, and it said, Phil Jackson spotted at Playa del Rey restaurant. I was like, whoa, that's like a mile from me. But I was getting on a plane to fly back east. So, but I'm like, whoa, you know, George can make that. And, you know, George was on the panel of a thing I did recently, but I was just in the audience. So the connections are getting closer. Everything Phil Jackson did to me is amazing. And knowing what Michael kind of learned from Phil, and then Phil Jackson had honed it because he passed along to Kobe and even Shaq. And there are so many players who have started to use this. You know, I think I saw Pat Beverly had posted something on Instagram that he had like sage or something in the room. And Joakim Noah is one of these athletes. Like Joakim is a very gentle, beautiful soul. He recently retired, but just one of the kindest people. You know, and guess what? He meditates. So he is a good person and he was a good player. So it tends to go hand in hand quite often, doesn't it? If you pay attention, right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Laura, I'm so glad to talk to you. Seriously, I see a lot of people in here, a lot of my friends and people that are enjoying this. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to tell you, I have so many things to talk to you about and to ask you. You know, you're talking about fangirling. I'm fanboying over here ever since you said yes in the email. So I actually I interviewed George Mumford last year. I did a series in May for Mental Health Awareness Month called Soul Talk, Tapping into the Zone. I want to invite you to be on this one for this May. If you would, I would be honored to have you on. That'd be awesome.
Yes, that sounds amazing.
I had a coach that used to scream out Marishnikov during practice, and we'd be like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's a ballet dancer. What's wrong with you guys? You don't know your culture? Like,
yeah, my son's actually met him. My son was my son. Okay, so my son used all these techniques because they're translatable, and he's in Russia as a ballet dancer, and he decided to go to Russia. He set his mind to it, and there he is. And one day he was in a dressing room because he went to the world's best ballet school in Russia. My son, like, dude, he accomplishes so much in ballet. And one day he was sitting in a chair in the dressing room, and someone came over and said, you know, this is where Misha, it's his Russian nickname, Misha, this is Misha's dressing room. This is his chair where he sat. So my son's at this ballet school that was started in the 1700s, sitting in the same dressing room area, Mikhail Baryshnikov, you know, and Mikhail's now in New York. My son's back in Russia. So the connections and the connection of ballet to basketball for me is so interesting, right? Because I made my basketball players, and I was a head coach, I made them all take ballet. So if you're a basketball player and you want to be better and have fewer turnovers, including your footwork can be more graceful, you should take a ballet class, even a beginning ballet class for 4 weeks, once a week. Even that alone will be enough to help you have better foot control. Because you know when they go like this, the basketball players or the ballet dancers, they jump up in the air and their feet go like this. That is a fine motor skill that most basketball players do not have.
That's
but they rock it with footwork. And ballet, I mean, footwork is so much more important than basketball than maybe almost any other sport. I know soccer, you know, we can't compare, like, you know,
right.
all that.
Sure.
It's a big deal to have that. I'm just going to say, see who's here. Anyone else you see we should shout out to, or any questions we should say?
My guy Denzel, my man Denzel's in here. He plays overseas.
Okay.
He works out with me sometimes. It's one of my guys. Yeah, a lot of your people in here. It's a lot of love in there.
I see Trent. See, yeah, that's so cool. Thank you, Dr. Brown. He said Laura's a manifestation extraordinaire. I would, you know, if anyone has any questions, I'm also interested in answering those, because to me, there's so much, like, if we have to make this a conversation, not a lecture, right? People have to say, well, how can I use this in my life? Or how do I use this sort of manifestation possibility to make myself a better athlete? And how do I get in the zone? I actually, if you guys DM me gems, I have a free ebook, because I talk all the time about these superhuman mental reps. But I have a little mini ebook because I love making ebooks on Canva. It's so much fun. I can put what I want to say into an ebook, but they're free. It's free. I'll send you the link to it.
So awesome. Thank you so much. I got more stuff to talk to you about, so I'm just gonna be on Clubhouse, and wherever you are, you'll see me around, and we'll continue to connect. But seriously, I really appreciate you taking the time. Really, I'm really grateful for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm supposed to do more Instagram lives according to my marketing people. So maybe you can conduit to say, Laura, I'm inviting you, because I do not like pushing start on Instagram live. So if you're I'll join in. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.